hope y'all can hear me well. Hope everybody can hear me well. But anyway, hello everybody. Hello. And welcome to the 21st episode of my Zelda podcast, the Kokiri Chronicles. This is where I sit down here and talk about all things Legend of Zelda on every third day in the month. Last time, I got to sit down here with my good friend Key of Time, an awesome streamer and content creator who I had the privilege to meet a few months ago over at Reconnect in Denver, Colorado. One of the coolest dudes I've ever met. He definitely loves Zelda and Kingdom Hearts, also known as the 358 over 2 days, guys. If you guys have not checked out his content, be sure to do so. So today, in honor of Spooktober month, we are going to be discussing how dark of a Zelda game is Majora's Mask. So we are going to be discussing Majora's Mask today. Pretty much just how dark this game really is compared to the others, or just for fans in general who really just love Majora's Mask as a whole. So originally, my good friend and mod Sora was supposed to be on this episode, but apparently he had some things he had to do, so he could not make it. But I'm going to go ahead and shout him out anyway, because Sora is a really awesome friend of mine. To me, he's definitely is a really big Majora's Mask enthusiast, in my opinion. And I really do admire Sora. Sora is absolute homie. We do love Sora here. So if you guys are not following Sora, then definitely consider following Sora. So anyway, let's go and get this topic started to kick off Spooktober month. Happy October 3rd. I know we are many days away from Halloween, but let's go ahead and kick it off. So when you play Zelda, when you play a Zelda game, excuse me, I am so sorry. When you think of the Legend of Zelda, some people like to look back at a couple of games that are considered to be, they carry a more darkish tone and atmosphere. So, a lot of people will say games like Twilight Princess. But mostly the game that comes up the most in terms of it being like one of the darkest games in general, in video games as a whole, it's definitely Majora's Mask really just is brought up a lot by a lot of people. Honestly, you can ask anyone, whether they're a big Zelda fan or not, they can tell you how big of and how dark of a Zelda game Majora's Mask really is. Because here's the thing. When you take a game like Majora's Mask is it's just that one game that mostly focuses, or should I say more of a symbolism of the confrontation of death. Because you're in this parallel world, you still play as a little kid, even though you have the mind of an adult. And you see this massive moon just appearing out of the sky, and it's just gonna kill everything and wipe everybody out and everyone who even exist. So it is some pretty dark shit, though. Because, so here's the thing. When you boot up the game Majora's Mask, when you start off the game, we see Link riding on Epona. It's very quiet over in the Lost Woods. And of course, he gets a little lost, because that's what the Lost Woods was designed to be in the Kingdom of Hyrule. It was designed to be a place where anyone can definitely get lost, especially members of the Kokiri tribe. The kids who actually lived in Kokiri Forest. So Link himself actually ends up getting lost, not having any clue on where his lost friend Navi really is. Because that's his main objective. His main objective is, I saved Hyrule, I defeated Ganondorf, Ganondorf is sealed away. So, what's my next primary objective? To go find my friend. That's exactly what I want to do. And so Link is going on this quest. Again, he gets lost in the Lost Woods. And then he gets ambushed by these two fairies who are accompanied by a Skull Kid who definitely is wearing Majora's Mask. And then later on, the Skull Kid approaches Link, who is unconscious. He takes his Ocarina of Time. And then later, Link is in hot pursuit of him. He chases the Skull Kid, who also steals Epona. But then is, you know... And then, of course, later on, you know, the Skull Kid kicks Link off. And then Link chases him. And then they have this weird little Alice of Wonderlandish kind of style. To where Link is falling down this dark abyss. And then he lands on top of this weird flower, which obviously we know is a Deku flower. And then, like, you know, you see one of the most darkest things you can ever think of. Like when you, like, around the start, you know, when Link, like, lands on top of that flower. You know, you see, like, this cocky Skull Kid who's just literally just floating around, you know, honestly calling you out and saying how pathetic you really are. Saying, like, oh, you know, what's up that horse anyway? It's weak just like you. What are you gonna do about it? You can't defeat me. And then, you know, then Skull Kid uses his magic to literally turn Link into a Deku Scrub. And honestly, one of the most intense scenes, which is honestly really dark for a Zelda game, to where you see Link to where he's like in this place, it's like dark and gloomy, he's surrounded by all these mad scrums, and usually, you know, because honestly back in Hyrule, you know, Link, even as a child and even as an adult, he even confronted and defeated many mad scrubs during his time, so why couldn't he defeat him back then? Because here we just see him just running away like he's in some pretty big, massive nightmare. Then, of course, the magic begins to affect him, and then he turns into a Deku Scrub. So Link turns into a Deku Scrub, and then Link feels upset, thinking he's gonna have to be like this forever. And then, of course, one of the fairies, Tattle, gets separated from the Skull Kid. And so, you know, so Link and Tattle definitely start teaming up. But throughout the game, you know, Tattle is kind of a bitch to you. You know, she's just really rude. She's so naive. She's like, you know, saying like, oh, you know, oh, it's all your fault that I got separated from the Skull Kid. You know, like, it's all your fault. Like, you know, you're some idiot who can't fucking do nothing. So she's really critical on him. Like, she poisons him a lot, you know, with her words, saying like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, and blah, blah, blah. You know, it's just like, damn, you know, like, imagine if Navi was just really harsh to you throughout Ocarina of Time, you know? But at the same time, then when you go further into the game, you meet one of the most creepiest characters in all of Zelda. And one character which, honestly, even around the time that this game came out, right after Ocarina of Time, you see this creepy man with just a majestic smile on his face. Obviously, we know that is the Happy Mask Salesman. This man who, of course, is the same Happy Mask Salesman who lets you trade and sell masks back in Ocarina of Time, who actually had his own shop in the Hyrule Market back in Ocarina of Time. So what's his deal? So in Majora's Mask, you know, the Happy Mask Salesman, you know, says like, oh, you know, I've been following you. Says the iconic line, you know, oh, you met with a terrible fate, haven't you? You know, he's just mumbling all this random words, you know, and yeah, and he seems really innocent, doesn't he? You know, like to him, you can think, oh, he's all quirky and kooky and snarky. He's just a cocky, silly man, right? But honestly, beneath that man's creepy smile is a guy who seems to know a lot more than meets the eye for some odd reason. There seems to be a lot of mysteries behind the Happy Mask Salesman. Which, honestly, I did do an episode on Majora's of the Happy Mask Salesman last year. So if you guys have not seen that video, be sure to check it out. Honestly, it was a really fun episode to do. But also, if you guys are enjoying this video right now, please don't forget to do the following by liking, sharing, subscribing, all that good jazz. We do Zelda discussions, Zelda podcasts on every third day of the month. So, thank you so much for always tuning in. So, going back to the Happy Mouse salesman, he's just this creepy guy. So it's like, hey, I lost my precious mask. It was stolen from an imp. But, however, I'm kind of in a hurry, so I need you to get this mask back for me within 3 days, as I have somewhere to be. And, I kind of theorized this discussion, thinking like, oh, is this, to me, is the Happy Mask Salesman really just a guy who kind of symbolizes the devil? You kind of make, deals with him, saying, hey, if you do this, then something good will happen. But if not, then something terrible will happen. Because, it's just really dark, because the thing is, if you get a really bad ending in the game, in Majora's Mask, you see a really dark, horrifying scene, and it's just really fucking intense. I want to go ahead and show it off and play it. I want to go ahead and share it for y'all for this episode of the podcast. So let's go ahead and play it. Let's see, Majora's Mask. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause my music. And then we're going to go ahead and get to the bad ending of Majora's Mask. So we're going to get right into it. Let me go ahead and just get this this advertisement out of the way. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and use my Windows capture. Let me go ahead and cover that up. But yeah, I want to show you how dark this scene really is, because if you play this back then when you were a kid, you will know how creepy and terrifying this actually really is. It's really, really terrifying. So honestly, I'm going to go ahead and play it. Okay, so of course, if you fail to stop Skull Kid from using the moon to destroy Clock Town, this happens. Literally everything is dead. Tell me this is not terrifying. If you were a child back then and you play this, you know how terrifying this is to watch. Literally everything is getting destroyed. Clock Town, Termina. You see that grimacing face of the moon. It's terrifying to look at. And then, out of nowhere, this happens. Link's just standing there. And then you see Majora's Mask, behind the wall of flames. And of course, it didn't really show it, but there's a text at the end where it's a black screen. It's literally a black screen, and you see, and it's the same lines from the Happy Mask Salesman, the same text when you actually meet him inside the clock tower, where he says, "You met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" It's just really dark to see it. And heck, even the giants, if you don't rescue all the giants, if you play the Ultra Order and you kind of get a few giants, maybe not all of them, dude, even the giants can could fail and drop the moon and just, I want to say they pretty much die and fail, and it's just really, really terrifying. Wait, let me actually see if I can find something. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and play. Let's see. So we're gonna go ahead and keep it moving. Oh, I'm gonna make this right here. Let me see. Like you see, like of course, you know, obviously you need all 4 giants to stop it. But if you have like 1, 2, or 3, then this happens. Like they're having a hard time trying to hold it. Like they're trying to save the world, but they just like, but they just can't do it, bro. Let me see. So we go, okay, so right here, you know, if the timer goes down, then this happens. Then this happens to the giants. Like, it's just terrifying to, like, see them fall like that. Like the 4 massive guardians who were like there to like protect and save all of Termina just randomly just like pass out and collapse. It's just really dark and terrifying. Like, what the fuck? It's really dark and really intense. Like, that just shows you how dark of a game Majora's Mask really is. It's just a really dark game. And honestly, when you look at Majora's Mask, kind of going on forward, you know, in Majora's Mask, you know, there's like a lot of people definitely tend to bring up this topic, but excuse me, a lot of people like to look at Majora's Mask and see how it symbolizes the 5 stages of grief, you know, which is bargaining, anger, it's denial, bargaining, anger, depression, and acceptance. So there's obviously, there's like so much going on in this game, you know, because when you first arrive in Clocktown after you meet the Happy Mask Salesman, yeah, you come to this wacky world. You know, you're in this parallel universe of Hyrule. You know, you're in the massive world of Clocktown, and you see all these people who look kind of familiar, like a bunch of characters who Link actually recognized throughout his journey in Hyrule back in Ocarina of Time. Like, and now these characters have like a massive role in this game. Like, for example, like the Kuko lady from Kakariko Village. Like, her like parallel counterpart is Anju. You know, who definitely helps run the Stockpot Inn. She's got a family who's just really hard on her. You know, saying like, oh, you know, Cafe's not gonna do anything. You know, Cafe's not gonna come in. You know, be there for your wedding. This wedding is just a sham. I think he likes another girl. Like, and honestly, you feel really bad for her, because to me, I really do like the Anju and Cafe side quest. Like that is literally my favorite side quest in all of Zelda. I love the Anju and Cafe side quest because, you know, it's about these 2 lovebirds who really just don't want to be apart from each other. You know, like, you know, they're engaged. They're engaged. They want to get married. But no matter what happens, they always want to get married, even if the world comes tumbling down. It's my water. But, you know, you see like these 2 lovebirds, like they just want to get married, all this kind of stuff, but like honestly, it's like the Anju and Cafe side quests is one of the most heartwarming side quests in all of Zelda, or just in gaming in general. You know? But when you look at this game, like, there is a lot of drama going on. You see like love triangles, like with Anju and Cafe and Cremia, you know, the farm girl who definitely helps her little sister out in Romani Ranch. You know, and it's just really sad. And not to mention, there seems to be a lot of death in this game. Like, you see, like, people who are sick or just dying. Like, the fact that you get to communicate with dead people, which is honestly is fucking insane. Like, it's just some really deep shit, you know. But honestly, this game, like, has a lot of drama going on, like, because you know, so in Clocktown, they have this event called the Carnival of Time, to where they celebrate the four giants being like these guardian deities that just protect the entire region of Termina. You know, you have four giants, one in the north, one in the south, one in the east, and one in the west. So they're just massive guardians who they just swore to protect this land from anyone or anything that can harm it. And like, everybody is so skeptical of the whole thing, on the whole, this giant moon's just gonna come down from the sky and just destroy everything and try to kill everybody. You know, so everybody's like, yeah, you know, we might as well just evacuate and just get out of here before everyone is legit fucking dead. And then you have people who think, nah, that's just a bunch of hoo-ha. It's not gonna happen. You know, nobody's not gonna die. This moon ain't gonna do crap. It's not gonna kill anyone. So we're just gonna go on with the Carnival of Time. But it's so dark because the thing is, the entire world of Termina is on Link's hands. Like, literally, he's got an entire civilization that's like, literally, I mean, honestly, you know, these people don't know nothing about this kid, but knowing, like, what, for someone who is just as, like, for a child like Link, like a young hero of time, to, like, just go forth to, like, put his main primary quest on hold just to save a massive civilization from this evil deity that possesses a Skull Kid and makes this massive moon that's just literally just gonna kill everyone. Because one thing I want to say about you know, like, this kid, you know, the hero of time, you know, because when you do think about it, you know, this hero of time has, again, you know, and I've definitely done a video, I've done an episode on the hero of time, which honestly y'all should check it out. I did it with Landi and Bahamut and Sora. Definitely check that episode out if you haven't. But when you look at this kid, a young hero of time, you know, this incarnation of Link has been through a lot of tragedy. Honestly, a lot of shit compared to any other incarnation out there throughout the Zelda series. And, you know, because, you know, obviously, you know, this kid started off as an outcast, you know, being labeled as just, you know, he's just the boy without a fairy. You know, he's the boy without a fairy, a nobody who can't do anything. You know, and then he was just a little kid who was just forced to grow up so fast after knowing that he had to fulfill his destiny to prove himself that he can become a hero. You know, he was just this kid who was forced to grow up so fast. And in Ocarina of Time, you know, he's in this grown-up body, but in his mind, he's still a child. He's still literally a child who just was forced to grow up so fast. Then he helps free the other sages, defeats a lot of monsters and enemies throughout Hyrule. And heck, even defeating Ganondorf and sealing the evil king away. Then this hero of time gets sent back into 7 years into the past to reclaim the 7 years of childhood he didn't get to have, because, like, honestly, in general, like, in terms of Link's childhood, he didn't get to have one. This kid literally could not even begin to, like, enjoy his childhood. You know, like, in Ocarina of Time, being forced to grow up so fast. Then, of course, you know, he returns into 7 years into the past. And then, later on, you know, to kick off the events of Majora's Mask, he warns Princess Zelda about Ganondorf is coming to Hyrule. But his main primary quest? To go find his lost friend, Navi. He wants to go find Navi. And then when he's in this weird master world filled with a bunch of weird and silly and goofy characters that are just familiar to him, it's just like, this kid's got a lot going on in his mind, dude. Like he's got so many eyes on him. Like, it's just insane, you know. Like, he has to put this massive world aside, his main objective aside, just to save a bunch of innocent people who he's never met before. So he's not going to go to Terminus, but you know what? I'm going to go find my friend Navi first. And after I do that, then I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to come save your land. No. The one thing to keep in mind about Link, about the hero of time, whether he's a kid, whether he's a child, or he's an adult, you know, he's this hero who puts, you know, who puts other people's problems first before himself. And throughout Majora's Mask, you know, he definitely gets to learn about all the drama that's going on. Like, for example, like, take a look at the Deku Scrubs in Southern Swamp. You know, they're just a bunch of stubborn jackasses, and look, and even their king, who's just a complete tyrant after realizing that his daughter was kidnapped by Odola. And what does he do in most of frustration and anger? He pins the blame on on innocent monkeys, and literally capturing one of them, thinking that it was their fault. Then after that is over, then Link gets to explore the snowy mountains of Snowhead. And what is the problem that's going on over there? Well, there's this massive snowstorm that's taken over that's pretty much all over Snowhead, including the mountain village, the Goron village. You know, you have the annoying crying Goron baby who misses his father. You know, while, you know, the Goron elder is definitely looking to seek help. But the Gorons also had this hero named Darmani. He was considered to be a Goron champion to these people. And then later he just died. He literally just died after, like, trying to be able to confront this issue, this situation. Because he was concerned about what was going to happen to his people. Because people looked up to him. People looked up to Darmani. And then later, you know, he just died, and Link gets to confront his ghost, and Link gets to learn about how he died, what kind of hero he was according to his people. But it is pretty something. Then let's take a dive into Great Bay. What the hell is going on over there? Well, you know, you definitely do confront Azora, who is dying, literally dies right in front of you. Because, so you learn about the Zora Singers. So there's a group of Zoras who started a band called the Indigogos. And Mikau, who is a guitarist of the band, has a girlfriend named Lulu. And Lulu laid 7 eggs. She laid 7 Zora eggs. And obviously they were taken and stolen by a bunch of Gerudo pirates. So they were scattered all across Pinnacle Rock. They were in the Gerudo Fortress, and thinking that these massive giant enemies called sea snakes are going to be feasting on them. And thus, it causes Lulu to fall into, like, this deep depression. She's in such huge depression. she lost her voice and she can't sing because she's the singer of the band. And so, you know, Mikau, her boyfriend, goes on this quest to like go collect the eggs, and he tries his best to fight the pirates, but in the end, he fails. He literally ends up in massive failure. He dies right in front of Link, even tasking him like, hey, you know, like, go find the Zora eggs and bring them back to Lulu and let him know that everything is okay. Like, it's just, now you know, like, how there is so much going on in one game. Also, looking at Twitch chat, I see Jacko has redeemed a Daily Ruby. Yo, Jacko, welcome on in. Welcome in, Jacko. Welcome to the podcast. We are discussing Majora's Mask and how dark of a Zelda game is. I hope you are doing well. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Welcome. Welcome. Hope you guys can enjoy your stay as we discuss Majora's Mask. Okay. Let's go ahead and change the song. Okay. Okay, so where is my ending song? Okay. Let's play it. Oh, yeah, we don't need that advertisement. We don't need it. Okay, so we'll go ahead and change up the song. Alright, so definitely we'll change up the song. Okay. So, and then when Link finally arrives to a place that's known as the Land of the Dead. Ikana Valley. So, in Ikana, like, it's just this barren, deserted population to where everything is just a symbolism of death. It's literally death. Like you can honestly feel the presence of spirits and ghosts just lurking there. Like, heck, even when you go to the graveyard, you know, you can see Saul children just wandering around at night. You get to confront Captain Skull Kita, who definitely was part of a war that was really, really long ago. And of course, obviously, you get his Captain's Master, where you can actually communicate with Saul children. But in Ikana Valley, it's mostly is just, like, the symbolism of Ikana Valley is to me, it symbolizes the acceptance of death. Because there's so much spirits going on, you know? So to me, it's kind of like accepting death and just deciding on whether you want to move on from the afterlife. Because what's the first thing that happens when you get there? So when you arrive to the Ikana region, Tattle states something like, oh, I can smell blood, or I can sense evil and darkness just lurking here. And even ask Link, like, do you even have a master where you can actually confront and communicate with the dead? So obviously, you know, in order to get to Ikana Valley, you need to acquire the Garo mask by racing the Gorman brothers outside of Romani Ranch. So they give it to you as a prize for beating them. So when Link puts on the mask, the Garo mask, you see these random creatures, these random deities or spirits called Garos, who definitely are like these ninja-ish, like, ghost warriors. And even defeating them, you know, they definitely give you like a piece of symbolism, like some parting words before they die. They say, like, oh, you know, go to the secret shrine to go do this. Like, oh, did you get to visit Ikana Castle or stuff like that? And what's even sad is that they literally kill themselves. They kill themselves right in front of you. And you see, like, all this, like, you've already dealt with enough of this shit before, and you're just like, what is going on? Like, why are all these people and creatures just dying right in front of this kid? It's just really fucking intense. It's just so insane and dark. Like, there's just a lot of death just going on in this game. And even like, and right in the middle of Ikana Valley, it's just this colorful music box house that's just there. Like, it seems very out of place for like an area that's mostly like is a symbolism of death and accepting death. But, excuse me, but wandering around the building are just these Gibdos. Like, Gibdos are just wandering around. And then, of course, you know, right behind the house, you see, like, this massive cave where you talk to one of the musical ghost brothers, Sharp, to where he actually makes a deal with a character who symbolizes the devil, or pretty much, according to his brother Flat, the one who he actually encountered in the graveyard, he states that his brother sold his soul to the devil. Or should I say, the Skull Kid. And when he even play the Song of Storms, you know, Sharp realizes, like, you know, oh, I made such a gruesome mistake of, like, giving my soul to darkness. And literally listening to this random Skull Kid wearing a mask. So we all know that Skull Kid, every time he wears Majora's Mask, he's just a massive manipulator. He's a massive manipulator who definitely, you know, honestly, just like the Happy Mask Salesman, he definitely, you know, consumes all these people and creatures into darkness. Like, it's just, like, and he definitely has that gift of, like, brainwashing people, you know, and it's honestly, it's the power of the mask that's doing it. So, because when you look at when you go to Stone Tower Temple, it's really dark and insane to where, you know, you look up at the sky, you know, whether it's inverted or not, and to me, because, you know, it's kind of really close to the heavens when you think about it. When you look at a place like Stone Tower, it's almost there, but not quite as close to the heavens. It's there, but kind of. And it's just like, you know, it's kind of like an acceptance of death, you know. It's definitely to, like, you know, it's mostly is a place to where spirits can, like, you know, they've accepted death and they moved on. They moved on with their lives just to go on to the afterlife. And it's like you're learning about this in a Zelda game and you're just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, it's just really a lot. There was, like, so much going on with this game. Like, it really likes to mess with your head. There is, like, so much going on in Majora's Mask. Like, you ask yourself, what is even happening here? All the symbolism of death, people actually dying. It's just what makes Majora's Mask such a really dark game. And, like, because the thing is, you know, so one of the most interesting and powerful songs in the game is the Song of Healing. And the Song of Healing, which is taught to Link by the Happy Mask Salesman, it is a special song that's supposed to heal the souls of the dead, and by putting and they're sealing their soul into a mask. So obviously Link has done this 3 times, with the deck. Well, obviously, technically he was given the Deku mask because of the manipulation of the Skull Kid. Obviously he used it 2 times for for the Goron, the Zora. He's even used it even on other characters like Kamaru, like Kamaru for the Kamaru's mask. The guy who's all about dancing. He wants to move on, but he feels like he can't rest at ease. Definitely. Heck, even the man who came to study and research Ghost, and Ikana who is majorly influenced with Gimdo, and it kind of breaks his daughter's heart, seeing you know, with this little girl saying like, oh, you know, you were just having a bad dream, you know, even though like she doesn't want her father to stress and worry, you know, what really happened to him. And like, but there is just a lot of darkness that is just consumed in this game. And if there's one thing that I like about Majora's Mask, is just learning about the inhabitants and mostly solving their problems. You know, like, for example, like, you have, like, the postman, like, on the final day, who says he really wants to flee and run away, but he can't because he feels like is not on his schedule. So he's having, like, this anxiety attack to where he's like, you know what? I can't do anything. I'm just gonna sit here in panic and just accept death. And you see a lot of people who are just terrified of this moon that's just plummeting down from the heavens just to like literally kill everyone. Especially with the music that's playing right now. When you listen to it, it's like it really does feel like it's the end of the world. Cause like even during the final minutes in Majora's Mask, if you were to confront as many people as you can, literally a lot of people are panicking. Like, some have evacuated and some are just knowing that they can't do anything about it, so the only thing that they can do is just accept death. And it's just really, really sad, you know? And heck, even there are some moments that really just break my heart. Like, let me give you all an example. So, on the third day, if you were to save Romani, the little girl from Romani's match, you know, if you defeat the aliens, if you help Cremia deliver the milk on day 2, so there's a cutscene on the third day. My phone. So there is a cutscene on the third day, to where you can actually see Cremia and Romani in the barn. And of course, you know, they really do feel that they definitely are going to be accepting death. There's nothing they can do about it, so they're just going to have to accept it and just move on. And it's just really sad, because, like, especially, you know, Cremia telling her little sister, like, hey, you know what? I know this is the last day that we're going to be living on this planet. So I'm going to give you a sip of Chateau Romani, which is literally is like milk combined with alcohol. And it's like, you know what? You can have a sip of this just because it's our last day. And it's just really, really sad. It's really sad that it just breaks my heart, dude. It breaks my heart to see so many people just suffering from like this massive, all because of this massive moon. Oh, since I was bringing up Romani, dude, the quest where you actually fight the aliens. So honestly, fun fact, the aliens that you actually fight in Romani Ranch are actually based on these creatures and ghosts that these kids actually saw in real life. So it's based on a true story, and I'm trying to remember where it took place in. I want to say, I think it's West Virginia. I would have to look that up. But if you guys know what I'm talking about, definitely let me know in the YouTube comments. But like, it's just really dark. The fact that you literally get to fight aliens in a Zelda game. And if you fail to save the cows, you know, you see Romani being abducted by the aliens. Then on day 2, she like, you know, she is, you know, the aliens give her back. And she looks weary, I want to say. I don't know if that's the right word, but she's more like, it's like she's been completely brainwashed. Like, she doesn't remember, like, she's over here sitting down, she's shaking her head, knowing she doesn't know, like, she has no recollection of anything that happened. She doesn't remember Link or anything that happened before that. And it causes her older sister to cry because Cremia didn't even believe, about all this stuff. She thought that this was literally just kid stuff. It's just kids. It's like, believing in ghosts and talking about deities. Typical kid stuff. Of course, that was in Cremia's mind, but the fact that you get to see and experience what happens to some of the people in Termina if you fail to save them, it's just really, really heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking because, because in Termina, you see some people who actually, before the moon was influenced by the power of Majora's Mask, they definitely looked up to this moon as kind of like their god, like you see this moon was just this god, because you see people talk about it, saying oh yeah, look at the moon, it used to be all cool and happy, now it's just scary with a grimacing grin and red eyes, and you can honestly see how this moon is kind of their god in a sort of a way, because when you go to the mayor's office, right behind his chair, you can actually see the moon, but it's more happy. It's more happy. So you can definitely say these people, the people of Termina, not only do they, not only do they look up to the four giants, the guardian deities who protected the land, but this moon also, in a way, kind of served as their god. This literally was their god. But the creation behind Majora's Mask. So Link does learn about this, from the Happy Mask Salesman, to where Majora's Mask was an item that was created by an ancient tribe who performed dark hexing rituals. So this mask was consumed with so much power and evil that this ancient tribe had to seal it away because they feared its evil powers. And of course, they say that anyone who puts on the mask will be influenced by the power of Majora, which of course Majora is this evil deity, this evil spirit that just sleeps within the mask. And of course, that's why an innocent Skull Kid just picks it up for himself, and thus he is influenced by Majora's Mask. Now, me personally thinking here, I feel that almost anyone could defeat, Skull Kid wearing Majora's Mask, right? So knowing what kind of man that the Happy Mask Salesman is really capable of, because the Happy Mask Salesman is a guy who's filled with a lot of full potential knowledge. He's a guy who seems to know more than meets the eye. So there's a lot of mystery behind that crazy man with a big smile on his face. He seems to know a lot more than anybody. Probably more than Link. That the fact that he even knew about who Link is. He never said anything saying oh, you're the hero of time, you're that kid who defeated Ganondorf and sealed him away. Now, can we say that the Happy Mask Salesman probably knew that? That this is the same hero of time who defeated Ganondorf and sealed the evil king away? We don't know. There could be a true possibility that the Happy Mask Salesman did actually know what kind of hero Link was before arriving to Termina. But, and so, now, one of the most weirdest places in Majora's Mask is, of course, the moon. It honestly is the moon. And there seems to be an innocence to it, because the moon, you're thinking of something dark and scary and gloomy, right? But when you go to when you arrive on the moon, there seems to be an innocence in there. There's like blue skies, there's green grass, there's a massive tree just up in the center, and then you see like kids just running around wearing masks, just being kids. They're just running around and playing and all this kind of stuff. Like you kind of like, it kind of is like a head scratcher at first when you first play this game, because you're just like, okay, so what is really going on? Like, why are these kids even here in the first place? And obviously they have a lot of symbolism to the Happy Mask Salesman. But before we get to the Moon Kids, why couldn't the Happy Mask Salesman even defeat somebody as the Skull Kid? Well, the thing is, when it comes to Skull Kids, Skull Kids are actually more afraid of adults. And the only reason why, because they have that fear of abandonment. Being abandoned from being lost in the woods for so long. So that's why they attack adults. And that's why the Skull Kid randomly attacks the Happy Mask Salesman, honestly just being like this prankster and just this trickster that he really is. And mostly majority of the race of Skull Kids, because that's mostly the kind of creatures that they are. They're just a bunch of pranksters and tricksters. He attacked the Happy Mask Salesman because he was scared. So he was an adult. So the oh my gosh, my nose. So obviously the Happy Mask Salesman knew he couldn't do this. So what is the one thing that he needed in order to put a stop to the Skull Kid and his evil antics? He needed the help from a child. Because Skull Kids obviously are not afraid of children, so the Happy Mask Salesman needed the help of a child to stop Skull Kid. That's why he requested Link to do the job. And heck, even when Link and Skull Kid confront each other for the first time in the Lost Woods, he's not scared of him. Like, you don't see the Skull Kid running off like, don't hurt me. No, he's not even scared of him. Now, if Link was an adult, like the Hero of Time and an Ocarina of Time, yeah, that'd be very different. But with Link just being just a child, Link being just an absolute child, knowing that he can get the job done. And so that honestly explains a lot why the Happy Mask Salesman couldn't do it. That's why he needed the help from a literal child. Jacko says in the Twitch chat, if time doesn't pass inside the base of the clock tower, what does that say about the Happy Mask Salesman who stays there? So, there is kind of a theory behind that, Jacko. So, my theory is that the reason why that time doesn't move and why time kind of stands still, like at the base of the clock tower, is because to me, the base of the clock tower, like the same door that Link actually leaves before he climbs to the base of the clock tower, it serves more as like a gateway between two worlds. Because when you do think, because you got to think about this, when Link, like in the clock tower, when that silver door closes behind Link, that is definitely is like the arrival of Link arriving to another world. Because, when Link is still chasing Skull Kid at the beginning of the game, he's not in Termina, he's still in Hyrule. And so, the clock tower, not only does it serve as like the main starting point of Majora's Mask, but to me, it also serves as a gateway to another world. One to where you can enter from Termina, and one to you can enter from the land of Hyrule, where Link is from. So I hope that definitely does answer your question. But going back to the Moon Children on the moon, there's a lot of innocence to it. for this massive place that's just, you know, just randomly out of nowhere. You know, it's just this massive place. You see, like, these kids, like, running around, like, wearing masks of the bosses you actually fight in the game, you know, of Adowa, of Goat, of Georg, and, of course, Twin Mold. And then, of course, there is that one kid wearing Majora's Mask who sits under the tree, but we definitely are going to get to him in a minute. But I want to talk about these kids. So, these kids, you know, they definitely ask a lot of, like, psychological, like, a bunch of psychology questions towards Link. But in order to talk to them, you gotta play a game of hide and seek with them by giving them pretty much all, like, the masks that you definitely earn throughout the game. You know, except for the Deku, the Goron, and the Zora, because they have no need for it. But they ask a lot of psychology questions to Link, and I definitely want to read some to you. Let me see. I definitely want to read them. Okay. So I definitely want to read the quotes from the Moon Children. Like, you know, because I definitely have talked about this in an episode. So let's go over it together. Let's check out these quotes. So when you talk to the kid wearing the Adola mask, he says, and I quote, "Your friends, what kind of people are they? I wonder, do these people think of you as a friend?" So back when I did this episode on the theory of the Majora's Mask Moon with Sora and Landi, so I want to bring up what Landi actually said in that episode, which, by the way, big shout out to Landi Lodge. Definitely go follow him. Fucking love that dude. Absolutely great guy. So Landi pointed out that the four Moon kids wearing the masks of the bosses, they symbolize a different character in Majora's Mask, which honestly I do agree with him. So, like, when you think about this kid, this Moon child, you know, he said, "What your friends? What kind of people are they? Did they think of you as a friend?" So to me, and according to Landi, that definitely does define Skull Kid's character arc, because, you know, what kind of person was Skull Kid was at the start of Majora's Mask? You know, he was lonely, he was afraid, he had no friends to be there until he met Tano and Teo and Termina. But just being a regular Skull Kid, he was like a prankster and a trickster, and people kind of got tired of it. And he even was friends with, you know, with the four giants, and they went ahead and ditched him. And then later on, when he gets separated from the fairies, one of them actually ditch him, you know, to where Link actually ends up with Tattle and Skull Kid ends up with Tail. So there definitely is a bunch of psychology questions. Also Goof has returned to Twitch chat. Goof, thank you so much for giving a shout out to Landi over the Landi Lodge. Thank you, Goof. So going on to the next kid, the kid wearing the goat mask, where he says, "You, what makes you happy? I wonder. Does it make others happy too?" So this kid represents the Happy Mask Salesman, because the Happy Mask Salesman likes to use the word happy a lot. And we talked about this throughout the entirety of this episode, where, you know, he's just a crazy man, you know, a man behind that big crazy smile who seems to know a lot more than meets the eye. He's more like, you know, a gambler, a dealer, a manipulator, saying stuff like, "Hey, you know, I need you to go get my mask back. If you do this, you're going to be making a lot of people happy, especially myself." You know, and then even when you return Majora's Mask to him, he says, "Oh, so the evil from the mask has left after all." And then he says, you know, "You've definitely," and he said, you know, he mostly focuses on the emphasis of the word happy. He says it a lot, you know, "Oh, you know, you sure made quite a lot of people happy during your time here, you know. This is just no ordinary happiness, but this is a good happiness." So he definitely tends to use the word happy a lot. So this kid definitely represents Skull Kid. I mean, sorry, the Happy Mask Salesman. Then you have the kid wearing the Georg mask, where he says the right thing. What is it? I wonder, if you do the right thing, does it really make everybody happy? So this kid definitely represents Link. This represents the hero of time himself. Because one thing we need to keep in mind from Ocarina of Time, the hero of time was not a role he get to pick. Link did not get to choose this. Rauru and the rest of the sages and Impa and Zelda, they chose him for the job. They wanted him to do this. So, throughout Majora's Mask, this was Link's quest. This is the continuation of Link's character arc, to where, honestly, he definitely feels like he's taken on the role still as the hero of time. And obviously, there's some people who don't remember him for what he did, but he still has this thing to where he feels like he needs to do the right thing. So to him, it's like I was saying earlier, of course, he puts saving Navi to the side. So, you know what? Forget you guys. I'm not going to help you guys out. I'm going to go find Navi first, and then I'll come help you out. No. So, when it comes to people, Link definitely puts them first before himself. So, to him, the right thing to do was to stop Skull Kid from destroying Termina. So, honestly, which really says a lot. And then when you look at the final kid wearing the Twin Mole mask, he says, and I quote, "Your true face. What kind of face is it? I wonder. The face under the mask. Is that your true face?" So this kid obviously represents all three characters that definitely play a very important role in Majora's Mask. Link, Skull Kid, and the Happy Mask Salesman. So they definitely talk about, okay, so what kind of person are you really under this mask? So pretty much throughout the end of Majora's Mask, where everything is back to normal, where everything is saved, the moon is destroyed, Skull Kid can be back to being just a friendly little guy who actually did have friends. So, you don't need to be a trickster anymore. You can be yourself and just do that. And then the Happy Mask Salesman, don't be this gambler or manipulator just to get people to do your bidding. Otherwise, something terrible would happen. And to me, and also, I'm also bringing up Landi for this because Landi also brought a really interesting point. So, I honestly do feel that in Majora's Mask, like Link is kind of asking himself this question, throughout every place he visits in the game, he's asking himself, okay, so who am I? What kind of person I am, other than just being this kid who accepted the role as the hero of time. So who am I? And what kind of person am I really am? So I feel like that throughout the whole time, Link is kind of asking himself that question, other than just being this hero of time, being a kid who didn't even get to have a childhood. Okay, so who am I? Who am I really? And what is my role here? What is my duty of still being alive? And then later on, and then finally, you go back to the kid wearing Majora's Mask. To where he kind of definitely acts like Skull Kid, where it's like, oh, everybody's gone. There's no one here to play with me. Do you want to play with me? And if you accept his quest, and if you have given away all your mask, he tells you, he says, you know what? You're weak because you don't have any mask. So he gives Link the most powerful mask, being the Fierce Deity Mask. Which honestly, if you look at the dialogue, it even asks you, could the power of the Fierce Deity Mask be as powerful than Majora? And when you go forward, think about it. Even the kid wearing Majora's Mask itself tells you, say, okay, let's play a game. good guys versus bad guys. So, when you're a good guy, you always win. And when you're the bad guy, you always lose. And he looks at Link and says this. Okay, let's play good guys versus bad guys. But in this scenario, you're the bad guy. In my eyes, of course, he's referring to Link. To him, he's saying, in my eyes, I'm the good guy, and you're the bad guy. So, we're gonna play this game. So I feel like the reason why he calls Link the bad guy, even though obviously we know it's the other way around, but it's just because of how powerful the mastery is. Because, so I will say, confirmed in an interview by Zelda producer Eiji Onuma himself, when actually asked about what is the origin and the history behind the Fierce Deity Mask, even his response was, well, I can't give you much more information, but what I can tell you is that the power of the Fierce Deity Mask contains the memories of all the people who lived in Termina. So that's the reason why this mask is very powerful, you know, like it's like, to me, it's like Link is working with everyone to save the world. So during his battle and his confrontation of just fighting Majora inside the moon, like, as soon as he puts on the Fierce Deity Mask, he's got a lot of people who are just relying on him, who are counting on him to, like, save him from this massive evil deity that's, like, plaguing and poisoning their land. And it's just really crazy. There's a bunch of weird and goofy people, which makes a game like Majora's Mask just so dark and so intense, really. But, and at the end of the day, sorry. So, since we pretty much discussed everything that is said, everything that needs to be said for Majora's Mask, so Majora's Mask, you know, to end things off here, Majora's Mask is considered to be a really dark game. Now, some people can probably argue that some people definitely can say that, oh, it's even darker than Twilight Princess, or people can say the other way around, saying like, oh, you know, Twilight Princess is darker than Majora's Mask. But honestly, you know, at the end of the day, they're both phenomenal games. But when you take a game like Majora's Mask, it really feels like, but to me, it really feels like it should have been like a rated T kind of game, because it has that mature-ish kind of setting, you know, because you're dealing with people who are going through a lot of problems, and like this land that is being poisoned and plagued by the influence of Majora, like, and that just makes a game like Majora's Mask just so massively dark. It's honestly a really dark game. And for somebody who has been playing this game for 25 years, ever since the game first came out, honestly, to this day, Majora's Mask as a whole, this entire game, this game still gives me chills. This game still gives me goosebumps to this day every time I come back to play it. Even though mostly I just stick to the N64 version of the game. But Majora's Mask as a whole, it just serves as like a dark game to where not only are you solving people's problems, but it's more of like the confrontation of death, to where almost everyone is accepting death. And it's like, honestly, it's kind of hard to think about any other Zelda game that can do that, to where you feel like that you have to accept death. And that's what Majora's Mask does. It likes to mess with your head. And it's just insane, really. And that's why I personally believe that Majora's Mask is a really dark Zelda game. And to this day, I still adore it. Majora's Mask is just a really heartwarming game. Not only is it heartwarming, not only is it a fan favorite to a lot of people, but Majora's Mask just really does a good job to just show you how dark this game really is. And if you guys have not played Majora's Mask, whether it be the N64 version or the 3DS version, my suggestion is please go out and play it. Because honestly, playing a game like Majora's Mask is definitely worth your time. I can tell you that right now. Majora's Mask, as dark as it really is compared to other Zelda games, it is without a doubt one of the darkest video games I've ever played. And that, to me, ladies and gentlemen, is how I personally feel and how dark of a Zelda game Majora's Mask is. But I want to say thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode where we got to talk about Majora's Mask. If there was anything that I missed out, definitely please let me know in the YouTube comments and let's talk and discuss it. So, November 3rd, we are definitely going to meet back here for episode 22 of our Zelda podcast. So, for episode 22, I was really thinking about such a topic that I can discuss for the next episode of the podcast. And I kind of have an idea. So I already have an idea on what I actually want to talk about. Oh, whoa, not that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to be sharing with you what the next topic is going to be for our next Zelda podcast. So, let's meet back here on November 3rd as we are going to be discussing Skyward Sword's most cunning villain. Yes, that is right. For those who have played Skyward Sword, we are going to be discussing Girahim. We're going to be talking about Demon Lord Girahim, and why I personally think, next to other villains throughout the Zelda series like Ganondorf and Vati and Majora and Demise, Malladus from Spirit Tracks and Bella from Phantom Hourglass, why definitely a character like Girahim is one of the most cunning villains out there in the entire series. So if you guys like Skyward Sword, be sure to tune in back here on November 3rd as we will be discussing how cunning of a villain Girahim really is. So, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have made it this far into the video, please don't forget to do the following by liking, sharing, subscribing, all that good jazz. Really helps me out. So, until then, thank you so much for watching. Have a great night. And I will see you guys for the next Zelda episode. Take care.
Day 2